Hey friends, welcome back to the Make Good Fashion podcast. I am Jasmine and I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining me for another episode. So today we are going to be talking about why getting your brand into retail stores is not as hard as you think and why your brand absolutely needs it. Let's get into it. Okay, so one thing I always say is that when I started my brand, I wish that I started with wholesale and direct to consumer. Now, when I started my brand, direct to consumer was like having a big boom. All the brands were just coming out direct to consumer. And so I put all of my efforts through our e-commerce store and doing pop-up events locally. Now, this was great, but what I didn't realize is that it was really important to diversify my sales channels and not just put all my eggs in one basket. And a few years down the line, when we eventually decided to step into wholesale, it just made a huge difference in my business. Our sales increased dramatically because not only were we getting the orders coming through our online store, but now we were selling to retailers like Macy's in bulk. And so they were buying several pieces at one time. So we would make several $1,000s within one order, right? And it wasn't only with them, it was with a array of different retail stores, which is the great thing about wholesaling your brand is that you are not just depending on one store, you're putting your eggs in a lot of different baskets. And so we got the brand into concept shops and department stores and things like that. And so this turned out to be so lucrative, and the majority of our sales ended up coming from wholesale. Could we have grown our direct to consumer brand just as big? Sure. But it was going to take a lot more marketing dollars as opposed to selling to these retail stores and leveraging the power of the marketing they were already doing as well. So wholesale's great. Again, if you're just starting out, I recommend doing it now. Even if you have started your brand, it's never the wrong time to start diversifying your sales channels and getting retail placement. And also, you guys, just for the simple fact that seeing your brand in multiple retail stores across the country or internationally as well, it just adds more credibility to your brand. It's also just amazing to go and see your items and see how far you can reach with the leveraging other retail stores. And like I said, increasing your sales, increasing your brand reach and your visibility. If you think about it, all the huge global brands that we know today, they either have a retail placement through wholesale or they have several retail stores of their own. So this just goes to show how important it is to expand your brand in this way. So I'm going to be sharing with you today why it's easier than you may think and how you can get started. What are the first steps if you want to start getting your brand into retail shops? So I want to demystify this for you guys because I know it can seem intimidating and really difficult. And maybe you've even tried on your own to get your brand into some shops to no avail. And one thing I want to say is you can start small, and I recommend starting small. I noticed that a lot of people, when they decide that they want to start wholesaling and getting their brand into retail, they go straight for the really big doors. So they're like, I want the Saks Fifth Avenues of the world, the Bloomingdale's, the huge shops, whatever it may be. And the truth is, it's more difficult to get into these bigger retailers, especially when you have never sold your brand into retail stores before. So I always recommend starting smaller, hitting up those smaller boutiques, concept shops, single door stores, and growing from there. And also when you have that credibility of even being able to get into stores, whether it be smaller stores or local shops, it's easier to then get into larger retailers because you have that credibility. You have proof of concept through getting these smaller boutiques to take interest in you, proof of sales, all of that. And it also shows that you know what you're doing when it comes to wholesaling your brand. And so that's one thing I want to say is don't be afraid to start small. And actually, I recommend starting small. The other reason why it's not as hard as you may think is because as the years go on and technology advances, there are so many different ways that you can get retail placements without trying to get a contact for a buyer or to finesse your way into these retail partnerships. There are websites that are wholesale marketplaces that are so easy. All you have to do is sign up. And if your brand is accepted, you have instant access to put your brand in front of retail buyers. And so one that I really love is called fair.com. I'll actually add a link to the description of this episode. And fair.com is just, again, a wholesale marketplace where brands will sign up and buyers go on there to search for brands to bring into their stores. Getting on a marketplace like this is great because you don't have to pitch at all. You just have to upload your products. And let's say a buyer is looking for, luxury footwear brand, they could type in luxury footwear brand. And then if that is your brand, if you sell that item, then your brand would come up on the feed and they can purchase directly through that website. The cool thing about a lot of these marketplaces as well is that there's a lot of integrations where it can integrate with your website. So let's say you use a platform like Shopify, a wholesale marketplace could integrate with your Shopify account so that your inventory can all come out of the same place. So that's one feature that I really love. And so that is one way you can get your foot in the door right now, like within this second. Like you can hop off of this podcast, go to the link in the description and sign up right now to get your foot in the door. Another reason it's not as hard as you may think is because buyers are constantly looking for the newest, hottest thing that their customers are going to love. And so by simply just being visible, whether that mean having a digital presence, getting press, if you have a PR agency that you're working with, things like that, just being present and showing up is amazing because you are allowing yourself to be more discoverable to buyers who are looking for the newest, latest things. So one thing I would say about that is maybe you don't have the budget to hire a PR agency right now. One thing you could do is just use the free resources that are at your disposal. Use your social media and make sure it's up to date with gorgeous product photos, with your brand ethos, everything people need to know. Your website looks immaculate and ready to be discovered so that when people do stumble across your brand, they can clearly see what you represent and they could find you. Also, make sure that you're utilizing things like hashtags, that you're pinning your brand on Pinterest. Just leverage everything that is free so that you can be discoverable. A lot of buyers are on these social media platforms searching to see what people are loving. Also, just focus on building your community and your following so it shows that you have some kind of interest in your brand and that people are loving what you're doing. Okay, so what are the first steps that you need to get started with getting into retail stores? So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have a line sheet. And a line sheet is a product catalog. I've talked about it here on the podcast before, but I'll just give you a brief overview again. So what a line sheet is comprised of is it basically has all of your products that you want to sell to retail stores in it. You have like a little picture of your product. You put your wholesale price and your retail price. Your retail price is how much you're going to be selling your product for on your website and how much you want the stores to sell the product for in their stores. And the wholesale price is what you're going to sell it to them for. So you sell it to them for a cheaper price, and then they usually mark it up by about 2.2 or times 2 to get their retail price. And so you put all these details in there, and this is just an industry standard to have a line sheet. And if you're looking for a line sheet that's already formatted to industry standard and has directions on how to compile all this information, make sure to check out the Make Good Fashion shop at makegoodfashion.com/shop. We have a line sheet template there available for you. And it's so amazing because all you have to do is download it and it's like a Canva template. You drag all your information in it. We made instructions for it as well. So it goes over every single detail you need to know on how to format this correctly. Another detail that the line sheet has in it that I didn't mention is that you also put like a delivery window. How long is it going to take for these products once an order is placed to ship to the store that's interested in purchasing? Okay, so once you have your line sheet all formatted, it's ready to go. The next thing I want you to do is start researching the stores that you could see being a great fit for your brand. So start thinking about some retail stores that you could totally imagine your brand being placed in. Maybe you're a luxury brand and you see your stores in some boutiques in Beverly Hills that you really like and things like that. So I want you to start thinking and researching. And the way you could do this is doing a quick Google search and typing in, again, using this example, if you're a luxury brand, typing in luxury stores in whatever area you're in or whatever area your target audience hangs out in. So for example, again, if you have a luxury brand for a customer that has more of a disposable income, they can spend a high price point, then you want to think about what areas do these people shop at, right? So, cities like Beverly Hills, or maybe they shop in New York City, or cities that, again, have people living in them or working in them that have that type of income that can afford that brand. So start searching for stores that exist within this area. And if you have some local neighborhoods that you kind of like that you could see your brand being stocked in, go to that neighborhood and just go by foot and walk around the city and explore and see the different shops that exist around there. And once you find some shops that you kind of like and that you can see your brand in, go in and get a business card. Go in and get a contact for them because that's going to be the next step. The next step is to compile contact information. And so, again, one way you can do this is going directly to the store, asking them if they have a contact for their store buyer. That's who you want primarily. And the store buyer doesn't have a contact available, try to get a store manager's contact or the email address that they can get in touch with whoever does the buying for the retail store, whoever picks what's going to go in there, right? If you're doing your research primarily just online, which is completely fine, you can go to the contact page of the store's website and see if there's a direct contact. I try to avoid doing the contact forms because, I don't know where that's going to, and they're probably getting tons of emails from that. But if you have to, you can do that. The only thing is you won't be able to attach your product catalog. So if you come across a contact form, try to just call the store directly and get a direct email address that you can send over your brand pitch to. So once you've done your store research, compiled the contact information for these stores, the next thing that you want to do is email the stores with your line sheet, your product catalog that we talked about, a pitch. So just sending a short email in the body of the email, just describing, who you are, what you're selling, all of that. And we actually have a free pitch template. So if you type in makegoodfashion.com/pitch or click the link in the description, you can download that free. We basically format a template of everything you should say in the body of the email. You just plug in your information once again and you're good to go. And once you've written that information in, you've attached your line sheet. If you have a lookbook, which is just a book that's filled with pictures of your product, attach that too, or attach any photos of your product that you have besides your line sheet. It's really helpful. And then I also love just doing a photo in the body of the email. So right above the pitch, just in the body of the email, having a beautiful picture that you think represents your brand really well. Because one thing is buyers and stores are receiving emails a lot throughout the day. So you want to make sure that you're standing out and that you catch their eye as soon as you send them this email. And so that is the first steps that you would take. So step one, you're going to put your product catalog, your line sheet together. Step two, you're going to do your research, find stores that you can see your brand being placed in, being carried in. And step three, you're going to go ahead and compile contact information from those stores that you've gathered so that you can then email. And then the last step is that you're going to email them your pitch, your line sheet, and lookbook attached. So those are the first steps you need to take to start to get retail placement for your brand. See if it's not as hard as it seems. Again, you want to start small and not go for those major department stores and big chain stores right away. So I hope this episode has been helpful to you. And I hope that this take away any intimidating feelings that you may have felt about approaching retailers. You just got to start somewhere. So let me know in the comments the next steps you're going to take to approach retailers. Are you going to sign up for a marketplace? Do you need to get your line sheet together? You can start emailing and sending out your pitch. Let me know where you're at in that journey. Make sure to like this episode if it was helpful to you. Share it with a friend if you think it'd be helpful to them. And subscribe to the channel for more tips on how to start, launch, and grow your impactful fashion brand. I'll see you next time, guys.